So, hi everyone. Since me and Lorena Hipolan will be the reporter for today, so we will be discussing chapter 3. Other forms of organizations, theoretical perspective, cultural and corporate governance. Other forms of organizations. Earlier in the chapter, we mentioned that not all organizations are for profit. We have listed the many types of non-profit organizations that can be formed to achieve goals and maximize organizational performance, such as village associations, charitable institutions, and many others. So they mentioned earlier sa chapter that dili tanan organizations is para sa profit, but because they have listed the main or the various types sa non-profit organization nga maka-form to achieve sa goal, maka-achieve sa goals nga ma-maximize ang organizational performance, including ani ang village associations o ang charitable institutions and many more. So, ang main objective sa good governance is the proper governance of its valuable resources for its stakeholders. So, stakeholders have the common example. Example ani is ang employees and governments, communities, and also the shareholders. So, while this may not be under scrutiny or subject, so regulating oversight, it is equally important to ensure that the good governance through its board of directors or trustees. So the good governance, so moto ang good governance, kaning good governance is the many daghan siya benefits like maka-reduce siya risk sa mga and enable foster sa safer and growth. It can also improve sa reputation sa kuan, so foster the trust and their benefits nga mumin sa among sa business is more likely sa last in the long term. So we next to theoretical perspective. So these are many lenses with which to study and look to a corporate governance. We take a look at the most widely used stories and a research perspective. So this is the four theory first, and then agency theory, stewardship theory, resource dependency theory, and last is the stakeholders theory. So agency theory is the mo ni siya. Agency theory. This perspective assumes that the two principal characters, the agent mo na siyang manager, and the principal is mo na siyang owner. So, magkuanta ni, the odds with their objectives. This theory posits that ang manager ko na is cannot be trusted and act on their interests and not for the benefit of the owners of the company, such as the view brought about the agency theory like Fama and Jensen in 1983, and the majority of corporate governance research has used this perspective mainly because of its practical business approach. So, measuring performance through the agents towards them help usage and intrinsic nature of a agent. However, the mechanics put in place from this perspective has not been guaranteed. So, the agency problem doesn't exist without a relationship between sa principal o ang agent. So, in this situation, ang agent is mo-perform siya sa task on behalf of the principal. So, ang agents are commonly engaged by the principal due to the different scales of levels. So, ang different employment of positions and more restrained siya on time and access. Like, for example, ang principal will be hire a plumbers like sa agent person nga mo fix sa issue sa plumbing. So although the plumbers is the best interest is to collect siya og as much income as possible and whatever situation in the most benefit of the principal or the na nga company, owners na nga company. So, the next is stewardship theory. So, according to this theory, the agents act in the principal's best interest and therefore act as a responsible stewards of the company. Davis, Scorman, and Donald Donaldson in 1997, however, believed that agents are naturally inclined to provide proper oversight and works for the best interest of the owners. So this alternative view of the agent-principal relationship has been widely debated because the tenets of agency theory should have provided control mechanism for the agent to behave not but did not do so given the numerous of corporate collapses that are still happening to this day. So, a stakeholder is one of who takes on the responsibility of responsibility sa sila ang sa responsibility sa of caring sila. Steward is one of the takes on the responsibility of caring for something on behalf sa another nga person or to the group nga or sa person or group of people. So therefore, ang stewards do not have a ownership. So wala sila ownership of what they have responsibility to take care. Ilahara is na sila responsibility to take care sa but must nevertheless carry out of their duties nga conscientiously since they have to render account of what they have done. So kaning stewardship theory is kanang kanang wala siya ownership, so iyang gabuhatan is dapat responsible siya to take care of their so moto siya it carry out of the duties na siya responsibility to take care of your duties his duties.
Resource dependency theory. Based on organizational theories, this theory looks at corporate governance from a strategic management view. It examines how the external resources of organizations affect how organizations behave for their maximum utility. Kumbaga, kaning theory is gatan-aw nila ang usa ka corporate gikan dito sa strategic management view. Like, example, when it comes a business or you run a company, it's normal that you have a monitor para mahibaw-an nimo kung unsa na ang dagan sa imong company o sa imong business. In short, mahibaw-an nimo kung unsa na nahitabo sa imong business or company. Tas, they make an examines kung unsa ang mahatag nga epekto sa usa ka organisasyon sa ilang pagkuha o paggamit sa mga butang nga anaa sa gawas. Kumbaga, kung ang usa ka organisasyon nilapas na sa ilahang paggamit niini, unsa mahitabo sa gawas nga ilahang gikwaan sa mga resources. The long-term survival of an organization is dependent on the efficient and effective use of its resources such as raw materials, labor, executive management, and strategic network, to name a few. This theory suggests that board members should actively develop their resources to build a competitive advantage. O ang giingon sa dini is kung gusto kang magdugay ang usa ka organisasyon, dapat maging maingat ka kung saan ka kumukuha ng mga resources para sa iyong organisasyon. It's like, in short, be responsible sa matagamit nimo sa mga resources, hilabi na nga kini nga resources is makaepekto sa usa ka community. Stakeholder theory. Given the growing social activism seen in the last century, Freeman 1984 developed this societal perspective and view organizations as entities that are responsible for their action that affect anyone involved or affected by their existence. This approach to corporate governance encourages boards to consider their stakeholders' concerns, not only shareholder, as the metric for a successful organization is the satisfaction of all its stakeholders. Kini pod nga theory, develop our organization if the organization is kabalo bagid sila sa ilahang responsibilidad, kung ilaha bang aksyon nakalapas ba sila. Like example, they do a thing for the sake of the circle of their organisasyon. Tas kini di ay makadaot sa kadaghanan. Dili gid ni siya dapat. Kay kung gusto ka nga ang usa ka organisasyon mulambo, dapat you think the stakeholders too, not only your shareholder. Next, the culture and corporate governance. In Chapter 1, we discuss how important culture is on CSR. This relationship of culture with good corporate governance is also supported by research. The influence of cultural influences, board practice and acceptance, and contributes to the development of best practices. The context which corporate governance is understood and practiced is an important dimension to consider when studying the relationship between an organization culture and governance processes. Corporate governance is generally seen as mechanism that promote good governance, but it is a culture that given it the impetus. For instance, there are nuances in corporate governance practices between the East and the West. A prime example of this would be the oft-discussed Chinese social value of saving face. For a particular person, entity, organization, most Asian culture, including the Philippines, have this particular emotional idiosyncrasy. In the West, where emotions are given lesser importance, this is not seen so much of an issue, as Western culture is deemed to be more open and straightforward. Diba sa chapter 1, ato naning nahisgutan kung unsa ka importante ang CSR sa usa ka cultural. Yes, it is important because pag culture na gani ang hisgutan, diha na dayon mugawas ang respect. Like example in religion, we are have any differences of each, but sometimes we need to adjust so that we understand what each other feels. Another example of this, kay nahisgutan naman ang Asian culture, my example of this are language. Like, diba, sometimes we did not understand each other because of our differences languages, but despite of that, we find another ways so that we communicate each other. That's all, and thank you.